we're going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that video just to make you think. And when we go back to the past, we see how the New World Order sets things up for 5, 10, 15, or 20 years down the road. Universal basic income goes all the way back to the 1500s. But we know what they bring up is Martin Luther King wanted to do, but we know this is a whole nother system than what we were back in the 60s, 1960s. We had Andrew Yang lay the foundation for universal basic income. Universal basic income will start as a check, will start as a direct deposit, but then move over to cryptocurrencies. We have the state of California now has approved the state-run guaranteed income. And like I stated, this starts off as a direct deposit, a debit card, and then get moved over an airdrop of cryptocurrencies. And also the statement that Chris Giancarlo has stated that China will be pushing the digital yuan inside the Olympics, now we know is true. So basically, the actual Olympians will be able to use the actual digital yuan free of charge. Now, during the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, self-serve carts, vending machines, and stores will issue wearable payment devices that will allow them easy use to the digital yuan. So remember, guys, China is going to be on the world stage showing us Americans that they're going to be leading us into the fourth industrial revolution. Because remember, when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. Y'all have a wonderful day.
In the U.S., $35 million for monthly cash payments to qualifying adults. And get this, no restrictions on how they spend the money. The vote showed bipartisan support for an idea that is gaining momentum across the country. Joining me now is Michael Tubbs, California Governor's Special Advisor for Economic Mobility and Opportunity, also the former mayor of Stockton, California, and the founder of Mayors for Guaranteed Income. Michael, it's great to see you again. Thanks for being with us. For those who don't know, you were a trailblazer when you instituted a guaranteed income program as mayor of Stockton. I know California's plan is going to be taxpayer funded. Tell us how it's going to work and who qualifies.
Yeah, well, first, let me just say thank you so much for having me. And yesterday was a big day for guaranteed income because not just this California allocation, but the child tax credit, which is essentially a guaranteed income for families with children, started yesterday. In California, under the leadership of Governor Newsom and the Assembly, in the Senate, the legislature came together and said, you know what, there's all types of pilots happening throughout the state and in counties and in cities and in nonprofits, and that the state wanted to signal that it's important that the state also invest in these programs. So essentially the $35 million will be a pool of money that mayors and counties can draw from as they begin to do their own pilot programs, with the priority from the legislature being those programs that serve pregnant people and also foster youth.
You know, I don't have to tell you that typically these government assistance programs come with a hitch. They usually have, outlines on what it is you can spend this money for, and they're very specific. It can only be used for housing. It can only be used for food. This money can be used without restrictions. And there are some people who say they're worried about that. You want to make sure this money is not going toward things that are bad, like alcohol and cigarettes and lottery tickets. Why was not having any restrictions on the way the money can be spent important for this program?
Yeah, this is fundamentally about trust and agency, and also moving away from oftentimes racist tropes of paternalism in terms of our policymaking process. And the notion is simple, that if we can trust people to make the right decisions for themselves and their families. And what we saw in Stockton, where we actually gave $500 a month to families when I was mayor, was that less than 1% of the money was spent on drugs or alcohol or building private aircrafts to go into space. Instead, people spent the money on food, on necessities. And we saw the same thing with stimulus checks. When the government gave one-time payments to people during this pandemic, we saw people spent the money on food, on their children.
Work, and that it actually sort of increases their dependence on the government. What would you say to those people?
They have never lived on $500 or $1,000 a month. No one can live on that amount of money and not work. And also the data, again, from Stockton illustrates that, in fact, the guaranteed income allowed people to work, because there's all types of barriers to employment are often a function of money, i.e. getting your car fixed, getting your uniform clean, paying for childcare, et cetera, or taking time off your part-time work to go apply for a full-time job. And what we saw in Stockton is that actually those who received the guaranteed income were 2 times more likely to go from part-time to full-time work than those who did not receive the guaranteed income, and also 2 times less likely to be unemployed. And again, I think we have to just reckon with reality. The vast majority of people who can work in this country do work. If people don't work, it's for really logical reasons. Maybe they're doing child rearing. Maybe it's cheaper for them to stay at home and watch their child than to work minimum wage and give that entire check for someone to watch that child. Maybe they're sick at this time.
Do you think
also say we? Oh,
yeah, go right ahead.
I was going to say, but we also have a federal guaranteed income program as of yesterday. It's not for everyone, but it is for 90% of families with children. The child tax credit. It's a monthly check to parents every month, at least during this pandemic, just for being parents, with no strings attached, with no requirements on how to spend the money. And that's a huge first step. And now we just have to fight to make sure it's permanent.
Real quick, Michael, in the 30 seconds I have, going forward for programs like these to be really sustainable, does it need to be a partnership between public and private companies and institutions?
I think we've had enough pilots, honestly. I think it has to be a policy. So we need a federal policy. We need a federal guaranteed income. And these pilots and these public-private partnerships like the one I did in Stockton are important first steps, but they have to be first steps towards a larger journey of getting to a federal policy.
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID-33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
it's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.